Dr. Golda Joseph, are you on the Zoom?
Hi, I
Hi, there you
am.
are.
How are you, darling?
Oh, wonderful. Oh my gosh, the landscape
What a
looks
what a
amazing behind you.
oh yeah, yeah. You must come. So we're in the heart of a crater, in a mountain resort in a tropical forest. So we feel very blessed to have landed here, and we did leave Panama City after a few months of COVID. Just said it's time, and it's been a great time, very productive for us. And thank you for reaching out. And what an amazing day! I mean, you really have pulled together some real light beings who are
Yes.
obviously in alignment with our values and ethics. So, shall I begin? I'll just do a real quick
Well, I would
intro
like
and
to
then.
introduce you rather than you introduce
Oh,
yourself. So,
please do. Please do. Thank you, darling.
Dr. Golda Joseph is a pillar of the natural wellness
Mm,
community. Her work, her life work is just some of the doctors that you'll meet on Canna World have learned
mm.
so much from you. And
Oh,
to have them be nearly in tears to be able to meet you is just it's a testament to what you've been able to do with this industry in natural
thank you.
wellness and coming into the cannabis industry and how you're doing it because of the perspective that you have on reaching the people uniquely through this platform. That's why I'm so excited to have you explain. She does have a global research platform. She's the co-founder of Jade Health. She is co-located in the United States and Panama. However, with COVID, she's in Panama now. So
Yeah.
so today she's going to discuss how the global research platform completes the supply chain loop. And I'd also like to introduce you to our co-host, Jill Reddish, who is from GCNC. So we might both be asking questions of you, or I could just
Wonderful.
turn it over to Jill.
So excited. Dr. Joseph, please go ahead and please tell us about your background and what it is that you're doing with Jade Health right now. We'd love to hear.
Great, great. Yeah, so I'm one of the originals. Started the first holistic health center in the 1970s in the Bay Area, and went into working with my husband, who is a functional medicine doctor and chiropractor, to establish consulting clinics for insurance companies to integrate integrative medicine. So that was our mission in the 70s and 80s, and we were very successful and able to educate the insurers and mainstream healthcare how to work with the numerous alternative specialties that plus the indigenous plant-based medicines. And to the point in which we were able to write law in the state of Hawaii on neuromusculoskeletal conditions. And so I have been carrying this. We've seen about 75,000 clients together. And 5 years ago, I joined forces with my son and a brilliant young naturopathic physician who was also a biomedical informatics engineer. And I said, hey, can we do this for integrative medicine? Can we put that into the mainstream healthcare system? And then cannabis came of age. And so we really focused, in addition to the integrative platform, which includes neurogenomics, into the Canada genomics, and then began to expand from there. And where we are today is able for Jade to offer an entire integrative cannabis ecosystem. So what we've developed is a cannabis medicine regulatory software to benefit population health outcomes and serve as a sustainable global research platform. So after a couple of years of going around the world, and most of the presenters today are my friends and associates, and I've been all over the world. And what I really wanted to do was bridge the gap, as we did with integrative medicine into mainstream medicine the last 45 years. I see that it's time to take these plant-based medicines and bring them into the mainstream, as is happening both with cannabinoids and psychedelics. So my background is as a psychotherapist. So I'm integrating the mind-body approach to using these medicines. But the Jade platform will enable governments regulatory oversight, which we're working in Panama and Mexico and Colombia and Peru, et cetera, et cetera. Most of the people that we met today, um, are potentially collaborators that we can work with at this level, so that the governments have the regulatory oversight that is needed for production, testing, labeling, prescribing, distributing, taxing, and researching of cannabis and other plant-based medicines. And we're doing that and closing the loop for patients, providers, multi-state operators, brands, governments, states, to provide safe and effective plant-based medicine. The platform is able to trace and track the genomics of the plant, and then learn from each human interaction, combined with the clinical electronic health records, genetic and epigenetic evaluations, and other integrative medical care modalities to determine what's best for each individual. So that's a big loop, because what we saw is that there is a breakdown between what the providers, because we're clinicians, I mean, we're a team of scientists and researchers as well, but we're coming out of a very strong clinical background. And most of the physicians I've spoke with, hundreds of them, they don't know how to integrate cannabis or psychedelic medicines into their current practice. And the insurance companies, who we have worked with for many years, and the other systems in healthcare, also don't know how to integrate it. So the platform will enable them to do that. Big, global, huge vision, but yet look what we've been able to do just in the last year, working together with CANNA World Expo and other leading formulators and researchers, to begin to say, well, how are we going to, and what else and what else? So we really are ready to begin in January, we hope, COVID permitting, to bring on our first two large clients. And we because we're moving from the seed to the shelf, or now home care, and then back, to really monitoring the self, the individual. It really is going to give the producers and the growers and all the people that were with us today, the product formulators, to begin to really learn what works for what genetic type, for what age, for what country you're in, and this will grow. So that's the beginning. and I think that we have all been talking so much about this really deep knowledge of the plant-based medicines that we bring with us from the indigenous cultures, both the Eastern and the Western, the South and the North. We as a group today really represent that platform. And hopefully together we can all accomplish this integration of cannabis into primary healthcare system. So that's my vision. Obviously, we're totally in alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals, and then each country is in a different place. So we're really here to be of service.
Right. So we've heard from other presenters today where they said that the research is out there. It's not happening from their country. So could you tell us how Jade aggregates all the data. And if, let's just say, manufacturers are not focused on developing a drug, they're just looking at data on use of the products that they have to market, how that works
Yeah,
with Jade?
yeah, yeah. So we are forming a global alliance with several partners, both public and private partnerships, uh, to advance the scientific knowledge and provide data that shows safe access to these plant-based medicines. And we're doing that through a cloud-based healthcare ecosystem that incorporates digital tools that integrate nutrition, cannabis, and regenerative medicines. So it's obviously a, a global research platform that serves as a digital infrastructure for integrating cannabis and other plant-based formulations into the needed integrative healthcare system. So our goal is to align with each country's population health programs and with the UN Sustainable Development 2030 goals to accomplish those outcomes.
Okay, great. Could you maybe walk us through how the system works if it
Yes.
were just
Yeah.
somebody that
Yeah.
wants to contribute their information for research sake?
We begin with our purpose, the why, which I really loved what Jeff was saying, because you really, it takes years to develop these industries. And having done it with integrative medicine in the past, I know that it's a long-term commitment. So we're in it for the long run. And Jade will complete the supply chain loop. So we will connect the ecosystem, as I said, from seed to shelf to self. And we'll do that through our integrative healthcare dashboard, which has a recommendation engine and professionally links to clinical care support tools. So we're integrating electronic health records, lab tests, biomarkers, including genetics and epigenetic tests, to really track real world evidence. And that later can as well lead to drug development, and we have CRO integration, and basically it'll all be at one dashboard. So that is how we are going to approach it. And in the future, or as we move forward, we also have numerous digital therapeutics that we will be developing with different providers, pharmacists, healthcare regulators, insurance companies, hospitals, dispensaries, home delivery services, and of course their clients, so that we can personalize those curated products and educational services to improve health outcomes and reduce harm. So there are many systems that we'll be using. I have shown many of you in this group the actual product, and how it works is it begins with the patient provider intake form, which now has been linked to electronic healthcare records, which was the loop that most of the nurses and physicians we were speaking with said no one has been able to do that. And setting up a completely different system is not sustainable, because they really want to begin to grow into the existing healthcare system, which is, I believe, where we'll be going in the States, and already is where we're going in several countries. So in order to do that, we need the provider dashboard to provide whatever tests the doctors feel they want to add. So whether it's the genetic or epigenetic testing or lab testing or EEGs. So if we're going to do research, we're going to need to have different modalities that we're going to be able to test on certain populations. And so we begin with the patient, the provider, and then obviously the products that we're going to be testing will be traced from substrate to soil all the way through the cycle, so that that becomes really valid real world evidence, which is the discovery phase that will then lead into more advanced clinical trials. Long answer.
That's perfect. So
Okay.
I don't know if he's able to hear me now, but Dr. Antoine, if you're available to jump on, I'd love to have you talk with Dr. Golda and explain what you two are collaborating on. It's been a pleasure having you be a part of CANNA World, and also, just like Jill, we're about connecting the dots around the world and making the industry grow. So, could you explain what's happened with the dot connecting over the past year, and some of the different people that have participated and spoke at CANNA World? What's happening now?
Well, I think we have several strong uh, clients that are beginning to reach their heads out of the COVID experience, because that, I think, had really like froze many people from stepping forward. So much uncertainty. All the regulators were, like, what do we do now? So we are moving forward in Panama, and we'll be working with Lorena in Mexico, and we have two big states, and very large plan for these states on the East Coast that are newly licensing both medical and recreational use. And we're working within the regulatory bodies of all 5 of those pilots to implant the platform, so the regulators understand that there is a way to monitor safety and effectiveness, which is essential. So we're working with many physicians and scientists and researchers in now 5 locations, and have been doing that for a year. That is mostly the regulations, as you've seen. We were back with Lorena in October of 2018, working together to begin to, and then things changed, and now we're glad to know that things are moving forward there. And Panama's very open, and the legislation, it should be happening, we hope, in January. So we're working with a group here, which is quite perfect, since the airport is kind of open and mostly not. So, and I'm 69 years old. So that, we're going to see how the elders are able to move around the world in this new time. But I haven't spoken with Dr. Antone, and there are several others that that CANNA World has introduced us to, that I believe the beginning of 2021, we should be anchoring several of these research projects, as well as implementing with the regulators in these countries a solution that really will make a huge difference in the entire ecosystem.
So, for states in the United States that just legalized, and for those states that have concerns and safety concerns, how could Jade Health benefit a newly legalized state?
Yeah, yeah. So again, we have the ability in the platform to watch the entire process. So if there is going to be a level of toxicity from the substrate to the seed to the material, or if there's a breakdown in the distribution channel, or the providers don't have the education they need, they get that so that they can then integrate this medicine very effectively with the rest of the protocols. Because there are drug to drug interactions, and obviously we're able to identify them. And the need for education is, you know, it's massive at all levels. So we have put together a team of pharmacists and doctors and researchers and educators that are working with us to really build a cannabis plant-based medicine integrative library as a resource for all those different players. And we are hosting several educational programs through our marketplace. So it's happening. I, I, what happened this year was very interesting because we have literally moved to a virtual marketplace now, which is perfect because we will be in a complete virtual online solution for so everyone will be able to gather this information and have access to their, obviously it's all anonymized and military grade and HIPAA compliant, and our future is to really work with the digital therapeutic market where we can incorporate the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week monitoring and feedback system where people can really see what works for themselves, what works best, invite their friends, family, physicians, and then feed all that information back to the producers and the formulators so that we can really begin to qualify what are the best mechanisms for that individual. Because medicine, one size does not fit all. No matter how wonderful these medicines are, and they are wonderful, but we will need to really look at the whole person. That is now possible.
Completely the
Pretty
future.
exciting.
Completely the future of medicine these days, of course. And
right.
So I wanted to find out from you, speaking from the co-founder of GCNC, the Global Cannabis Network Collective, where we all realize that we're as strong as the power of our network. For you with Jade Health, who are your ideal collaborators? Who would you like to be working with in the next year or two?
Yeah, well, I think that all of the stakeholders will benefit. So we're starting at the top of the chain, and we know that the regulators are at, on a government level are key. They're essential, especially in these new countries and new states, for them to really understand that there is a platform that can be used. And then when we go down, in the states, we have multiple state operators that would really benefit because they need to standardize their plant material in such a way that we can really begin to build real world evidence to educate the public and then providers. And so that would be the next level down. We're also speaking with large dispensary owners, that are state by state because the regulations are all different. And any product can be tested through the system. And we have developed the Jade Alliance so that we have country by country contract research organizations that will work with us to validate the digital therapeutics as well as the products that we're promoting. So we're not going, it's B2B mostly. Because those organizations really need to have this data to go more specific into, a drug trial. This is a really cost-effective way to begin to get that real-world evidence and the tracking and tracing, and primarily the the states that we're going into. the pharmacists, the nurses, the doctors, the bud tenders are relatively uneducated in how to integrate these medicines effectively. You know, and so we really need to work with professional teams, and I'm sure we'll be aligning with several networks. We're working with a large group of pharmacists, both on the East Coast and West Coast, and so I see a lot of potential as to working more on that scale, and then they will serve their individual clients and really be able to have the data to validate their future development. Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to turn it
Yeah.
over to Q&A from the other moderators.
Thank you so much, Dr. Golda. Always wonderful to see you. It's such a blessing to have you and part of CANNA World and in our lives.
Thank you. Same here. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So have a question for you. Can you tell us how the dashboard works?
Yeah. So we'll begin with the direct to consumer part, which is the client, and that they can then put in their data. The intake form can be very short, so it's up to each producer or government. Many of the states have their own intake forms, so we have a lot of flexibility about custom designing the initial intake. I think that's essential because it's garbage in, garbage out. So we want to make sure that the information that we're asking, it really is going to serve what we're going the education that is needed for the producers or the dispensaries to move forward.
Can you help them?
As well as feeding that information back to the client. So in the intake form, we'll be looking at, the traditional, like I said, electronic healthcare records. So we could download, so we know what drugs they're taking. We can know their past history. All of that, the physician and the client will have access to. Of course, the client is in charge and owns their data. So, that information then goes into an algorithm that it combines all the existing PubMed articles, etc., for each condition. Plus, we also have an integrative library that will really expand the knowledge. So we could look at very specific use cases and then build that out through genetic, epigenetic, EEG, lab test findings, so that you get a match between what's living inside the internal milieu of the individual. And on the other side of the platform, we have the administrative panel, which will be individually developed and designed by the client. And so the client, MSO or government or team of physicians, etc., they will then have the ability to put in their specific protocols, dosing methodologies into the system that can then provide a differential diagnosis for the providers, so they know, okay, and all doctors, most people in healthcare know what that means. So we're really of course, there still is going to be, because we have to look at real world evidence so we can monitor Fitbits and other wearables. So we have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week view. Let's say if somebody is, needs a sleep remedy, they can then practice or study, say they can try 3 or 4 different recommendations, and then the platform has machine learning. So it gets smarter as we begin to learn more and more about why the person is using what and what the benefits are. And it will actually give the provider, if the patient wants, as well as the patient, and then the product development side, the information they need to then say, oh, this works for me for a nighttime remedy. This works for me for a daytime remedy. Oh, I noticed I took it for 30 days and it's not working as well. What's happening? Or this is going to be contraindicated because it's going to affect the CBD receptor that, really we can't interfere with those medicines because of that condition, etc. It's complicated. Health, what? That's why the platform will work, because it'll give us the data we need long term, and that's what makes it sustainable. It's because if we have this record, most chronic conditions, or let's say we're working with an elder, 65 years old, and she's going to live to be 85, and we're going to be able to move with her physician to reduce her opioid use, replace it with cannabinoid use, and obviously quality of life will improve tremendously. But we really want to watch as she gets older what and how her body is changing, so we can adjust the remedies to fit the need.
Thank you.
Right.
I mean, that's a really incredibly comprehensive platform that you do have.
Yeah, we haven't seen anybody else. I mean, it's a feat, and if we didn't have these really deep roots in integrative medicine, and the ability to really position plant-based medicine into healthcare, I think it's that combination of really being able to do both sides. I mean, that's why it's called integrative medicine. It really is, putting together the conventional medicine with these indigenous plant-based medicines, and really empowering the entire system to improve the quality of life and health for the individuals that we are in service to.
Thank you so much. I'm going to, Tasha, I think you said you had a question as well. Would you like to, I'm going to toss it over to you and let you ask a question, or?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I don't actually have a question. I just wanted to say hi, Dr. Golda. I'm really honored to
Tasha.
share again.
Yeah, we're making progress.
Yes,
lots of changes.
Yeah, slowly but surely, all of us are working together very hard. Again, supporting each other in a cohesive way, in a multitude of ways, to push the ball forward. So that's what I want to say was thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, so nice to see you, and thank you, and CANNA World for inviting me and Jade to be part of your community, your tribe. I do think that as I've watched the maturity of this platform, beginning at when we were the first to go online together, it's very exciting to see how the vision that the ladies are holding, and that we all are in alignment with, is going to anchor. And Jade is just honored to be able to be of service to everyone.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Golda. We just love having you, and thank you for being with us from the very beginning, and hopefully you'll be part of it all the way.
Yeah. Well, I think 2021 is going to really be exciting for all of us, and I'm so honored as I came on today, and saw the others that were part of our nuclear family that is growing. Half of them, have seen the Jade platform, and know the Joseph family and our team, and it's growing, and it's a wonderful. It really is a blessing for me because this has been a commitment for 50 years to bring botanical medicine, plant-based medicine, naturopathic, integrative, functional medicines to the forefront. And I really believe that cannabis and the psychedelic medicines will take both the physical and the mental suffering that exists on Earth today and really enable millions of people globally to improve the quality of their lives naturally.
Thank you. Thank you. Well,